Hey folks, it's Commander Shipp of the Commander Shipp Show. Me and Tom had a conversation, so show's gonna keep going on, but we feel like the format could use some work. So we also made that adjustment. We weren't quite ready as we started the show, so we made a little bit of an adjustment. So if you're wondering why I'm talking to you, not doing the regular intro as we would for the podcast, that's what's going on. So what's gonna be happening is we're gonna have a Monday, basically like a first episode of the week. It's going to get all the news knocked out. So you're going to keep seeing that short version where we do 30 minutes or less, be a quick run through the news, give our opinion on it, and then that's going to wrap the bow on that show. Middle of the week, we're going to do our topic. So this week's topic, we're still going to go in for the DC Extended Universe, the movie universe, and just kind of going movie for movie for movie, all the way into lead up to Wonder Woman 1984. We may add in some different topics there leading into the summer, but that's effectively what's going on. And then I solo, Tom may jump in and out, but me solo, I'm going to be doing my reviews at the end of the week. So this is a review on like new movie releases or other movies that don't fall into this category. And that's where I will just be giving you like a review analysis. So why are we doing that? Because we want to get these podcast lengths in a smaller space and just being completely honest with you what we're trying to do. On top of that, we think it'd be better for flow, right? We think it'd be better just to keep news where it's at. Do our topic, keep that as one episode, and then if we have a review that comes out, I mean, my plate's a little barren as far as reviews right now, but when that kicks back up, I'll have a lot each week. And then trying to get that in the news and trying to get that with the topic is just too much. So we're streamlining it. Hope it makes a more enjoyable experience for you. But that's why you're gonna this episode is gonna run right into Suicide Squad. We just didn't get a chance to record a good intro for it, so that's what I'm doing here. So here comes the Suicide Squad topic. I hope you enjoy. All right, folks, our main topic, Suicide Squad. I told you that it's arguably the worst DCEU film that we have to cover in this slate of movies. And it came out so close to Batman v Superman. This both happened in the same year. There was so much hope riding on. I mean, to be fair, that year there was a lot of hope riding on Batman v Superman, and then the trailers coming out for Suicide Squad were promising as well, and then this thing just took turn after turn after turn after turn. So we're going to get into some of the behind-the-scenes things that happened there, and then also just got our general impressions of things that worked or didn't work. And as always, the last 2 weeks, we've tried to give our positives. So there might be even fewer in between on this one.
This is going to be tough.
But we're going to get through it together with smiles and beer and coffee and water. So, Tom, what were some of your first impressions with it?
I have a lot of thoughts about this. So I'll start off with one positive of this film. This film has a special place in my heart because it was this movie that I was able to meet for the first time the lovely, talented, and charming Shelley Carey, who lifelong friendship relationship with her, even from afar. And we bonded over the fact that within 10 minutes of the film, they were showing kind of the origin stories of everybody. And Dr. Moon, who is supposed to be a prominent scientist or archaeologist or something, makes this new archaeological discovery with a doll of a god or an icon of a god she's never heard of before. And what does this prominent doctor of academia do? Cracks it in half. And then just, whoops. There we go. And I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And Shirley's like, yes, who the hell would do that? And from then on, we were best friends. And so that is the only reason why this film has a special place in my heart. I mentioned to you earlier Battlefield Earth, and I'm trying to figure out which movie I would rather want to watch. at this point.
For me,
and Battlefield Earth, I also had something wonderful happen to me, which we won't talk about. But
good story, but yeah, just that shit out on air.
But still, between the two films, I mean, I watched this weekend, but I started to wonder, like, this is as bad as Battlefield Earth. Positive, though, is Margot Robbie and Will Smith, who also did another film together. I don't know if they did that before or after. I forgot the name of that.
The movie
film.
was Focus.
Yeah,
their chemistry on set.
They carry that film.
Yeah,
they carry that film. Also, Viola Davis
is fantastic. My only, and this is not a knock on Viola Davis. It's just the fact of like going back to Justice League again. CCH Pounder as the voice of Amanda Waller. I don't care whoever gets cast. Her voice for Waller is just fantastic, and she's not that old. I would believe her coming in as like this, like well-seasoned, like government operative that's just been in the shit for a long time, like. So, really, I want to be clear. Like, I love Viola Davis in this role. I think if they continue her as Waller, or actually, no, she is continuing as Waller. So take that back. But she's fantastic. But God, whenever Waller would be like
CCH,
whenever she would go against Batman, and there was like banters back and forth. Oh, it's fantastic. It's awesome.
Man, and that's something that I missed. Like. The way that this Waller was written, she's way more of a sledgehammer than the Justice League version. And because I was thinking about it, that scene that she does in the end credits scene with Batman, and she's kind of like, "Oh, Batman, would you please help me?" and seems scared of him. And like, I was thinking about like the first time Amanda Waller meets Batman in person, and Batman's trying to read her the riot act. And she just turns to him and says, "Can it, rich boy?" and shuts him up.
Like, and he immediately gets her back the next episode by handing her the towel in her house, and she freaks out.
Yes.
And it's like, ugh. But yeah, the rich boy comment.
Well, I mean, come on. She called him out. He had to establish dominance right away.
Or the San Mateo Island with the nuke. Gosh.
Yep.
So good. So good. Oh, and the epilogue at the end with Terry and Justice League. Oh my goodness. See, this is why they just need to translate that to film or make a Justice League live action TV show. Like, we're getting distracted.
Yes.
But yes. I could rave about Amanda Waller forever.
So Viola Davis, I think, does a really good job with the material that she's given. So that's it. We have 3 actors that carry the film, and a script that is shit. Direction.
So let's dive into, before we get into like negatives, and I have a few more positives. I just want to kind of quickly recover.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Beads that happened. So the director was David Ayer, and there's basically 2 versions of this film. We could argue about different versions after this fact, but these are basically the 2 versions that you need to know. There's the David Ayer version that's closer to the script that he helped write on and work on. It's closer to his vision of it. And then there's the trailer version. And if you're wondering why I have to put like trailer version in quotation marks, if you watch the first couple of Suicide Squad trailers, they're not bad. They are really good. Like, if you're talking about like what would get you excited to watch Suicide Squad, just go watch those first 2 trailers. And I say the first 2 because after those first 2, the tone changes. It gets happier. It gets more bubbly. Likely as a result of Batman v Superman not doing as well. But that means DC really didn't learn the lesson from Batman v Superman. It's like, it's not the darkness per se that's why we disliked it. It's that you don't understand these characters and you haven't written solid characterizations for them. So if you think just remixing the movie to get it lighter is going to be the fix, that's not the case. So
Nope. Which we will also talk about in Justice League.
This is actually a good point to make, is that some of these studio interventions that you're seeing right now, or that happened with Justice League, started here. It was an immediate reaction after the March release of BVS, and Suicide Squad started the hell that it went on. It's definitely started to happen after this point.
And actually, I'll look it up. There is another, not to promote somebody else, but there is a journalist op-ed person that was a catalyst for a lot of this. So much so that, I think I told this before, the Snyders flew him to England on set to show him, look, it's not so dark anymore. And I'll find that article. And
something I do want to talk about in another podcast, and probably when we get closer to the end of wrapping this, is I have gripes against the MCU. I still love it. We'll watch it, but MCU, like, as much as I don't want to jump into Martin Scorsese's camp of like, oh, it's just a popcorn roller coaster, and while elements of that I agree with, it's like I was hoping that the DCEU would be a counter to that. Of like, we're gonna stay in this gritty realism and do that well, and have harder stories that we tackle, while MCU would be more of a lighter fare. And not necessarily that those are necessarily bad things, and it's not that DC couldn't get into the lighter fare, because if you look at Shazam, I think Shazam is a perfect example of like still kind of got the color palette and feel of some of these other movies, but Shazam is a lot of fun. It's a really fun movie that still doesn't feel out of place in what they've created. But
yes, so one thing I want to point on though is on that darker, grittier comment. Though you touched on it, but I want to hammer that point home, is approaching the harder questions. Like the most difficult question that the MCU has addressed was Civil War, of should Captain America do what he wants or not? And it's just kind of like, do you like freedom or communism, or something along those lines? And it was just so ham-fisted in their conversation about it that it just didn't care. Let's just flash forward to when Spider-Man steals his shield.
Because you have to answer the question in some facet, right? And if you're going to leave the audience hanging, it should be very clear that. So, and it's not saying these are only two ways to do it, but I'd say one, you need to answer the question in a satisfying way that leaves things open for interpretation. So it's like, this is how we answered it, but you could have some, it's open for debate on what it continues to be. And then two, if we are going to leave it open, there's still a satisfying resolution at the end of like, this is where we're going to leave these characters, because there's not necessarily a right, like, especially if there's like an area where there's not really a right or wrong area. It's like a question of like, what would you do? We want to put you in this space, and by the end of the movie, you can make this decision on your own. It's like, but you still need to leave your characters in a solid spot before you go and go into the next thing, or into the next movie, or so on and so forth, right? Which is an example of like Civil War. We knew that even if Cap is going to come back and help Tony Stark, their relationship is broken. Like, even if you're like, okay, we don't have a clear answer on what the Sokovia Accords should happen, because there's been some outside influence with Zemo and stuff like that. It's like, okay, fine. But we know where these characters are generally. It's like the friendship is fractured. The trust is broken. What that's going to mean for the future, we don't know exactly, but we have a general idea.
Yep.
Go back to BVS. But why do you care that he's dead, or that you did him wrong in life, and so on and so forth?
Well, and I see, and this is one of the things that really frustrates me about poor Zach. Like, he wanted to address a tough, gritty question, which he basically took the Civil War question of, should superpower beings have oversight, and which and they did it in this kind of Disney-esque way of glossing over the whole conversation so that they can get into a superhero fight.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas he wanted to dive deeper into that. What are the consequences of somebody who can save almost anyone from almost anything? And, having a literal god on the planet. And how will people react to that? And he had this, like, frat boy philosophy 100 response to it of, Batman's going to blow it up. And you could have gone so deeper into that. We called it back several episodes ago. Watch Red Sun. Watch Red Sun. That is how you answer that tough question. That's how you made Superman answer that tough question about himself. And that's the thing. Superman never had to face that question in any of those films. Batman just said, I'm going to go kill him. And Lex Luthor is like, I'm going to try and manipulate him. And Lois Lane's like, I want to marry him. And so yeah, DC Universe, it's ambitious yet rubbish in execution.
So, folks are probably like, well, we're talking about Suicide Squad. It's like, so it is important for us to go back to that, because even though, again, Zack Snyder didn't make this one, I see those imprints here that the characters that were presented with Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Captain Boomerang, they were trying to do that. They were trying to have a deeper conversation about what does it mean to be a villain, and have some complexity to these characters, and whatever answers David Ayer had, some of those things do show up in the movie, right? I think the strongest things that happen in this film are so we talked about Margot Robbie and Will Smith carrying this film, but I would argue, like, the conversation in the bar before Colonel Flag shows up, like, those are good. Those are some good moments.
Actually, that was actually the best part of the entire film, was that conversation. Sometimes it was a little heavy-handed, but, like, Killer Croc's story actually has some meat on it. He was just ugly, and people treated him like shit, and therefore he responded in kind.
Viola Davis says of the character introductions, and we'll get to that problem in a second. When Viola Davis says that, it does set a really good stage for Killer Croc, as far as like how he's mistreated. That has continued, and that comes up again when him and Harley have that exchange at the end. And I think that moment would have been so much better if things had been established better in between. Like, so between when Viola says that as his setup and to the moment you get to the bar. So I'm like, man, that would have been a fantastic little ribbon or little touch at the end. And there's more conversations as the action scenes, everything that's in between the action scenes when the Suicide Squad, and not counting Flag, and I have reasons why I'm not counting Flag for a moment. Like, again, kind of going back to Harley trying to interact with the rest of the crew. There's a moment where she's like she's playing the doctor of portions of her character very well, like, because she can get under getting people's heads and psyches. So there's a moment where she's pissing everyone off. There's a moment where they're kind of walking up, and she's just annoying everyone, and I'm like, this is great. She's calling all the shit out. We needed more of that throughout the film. It's like, Therese, like, no, she understands. She knows all of you, right? And having some moments where it proves that would have been great. It's like she's calling it out, but like having some moments later where she's like, I need you to do this because da 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 da. If she go ahead.
So, I want to juxtapose that because Margot Robbie executes that great. Just as an actress, she's fantastic. Just to the point that she did 3 months of gymnastics just to prepare for the role, to do a lot of her own stunts. And she did that. She did all that footwork, and she executes those scenes where she's getting into everybody's head so well, and then they cut to just an ass shot of her walking away. And I was just so mad at like, I mean, the changing scene in front of everybody is another thing. And actually, going back to your comment about unless you had another thought that you wanted to explain, going back to the introductions, I hated Griggs, the security guard at Belle Reve.
Completely disgusting character.
He is.
Didn't need to be in there at all.
He's a disgusting and useless character. Like, I can't imagine a serious. I mean, I know that they were trying to maybe do some shades of like, oh shoot, I forgot the name of the prison in Iraq. There was the big controversy shortly after the Iraqi War.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name of it.
We'll figure it out in post. But I think that they were trying to like create some type of character feel of this guy is basically a jackass to every one of them and treats them terribly. And I don't know if it was to garner sympathy for the characters or what, but their stories alone are enough. I mean, you've got a Stockholm syndrome victim, somebody with a huge, horrible disfigurement, another person who destroyed his entire family, a guy who tried to murder Batman in front of his daughter. All these things that, I mean, the only person who doesn't have a compelling backstory with a little bit of heart is Captain Boomerang.
Yeah, basically. He's just treated as the butt of jokes, really. He's just there to...
Yes.
He has more screen time than Katana and Hookshot. I can't remember that dude's name. Actually, I got a joke for that in just a second. He's got more screen time than both of those, but literally his characterization is you throw shit and you're Australian. And you have what did the title screen say? You have a fetish for pink unicorns, which is...
Yeah, I was trying to figure that one out too. Like, they show that a lot. And for the record, by the way, I watched the extended edition, which I think is
it's slightly better. Slightly, because we get more of the character moments in that. They don't get cut out. Because if you watch the theatrical cut, a lot of those didn't make it in. Like that Harley Quinn scene I was just talking about, that is not in the theatrical. That's not in the theatrical cut, which is a shame.
Yep. Slipknot, I think, is the person you're thinking of.
So go back to Boomerang real quick. They do this weird thing where they keep showing the unicorn. He's like very protective of it, wants to make sure.
Yeah.
And the one scene where you think, oh, okay, he got stabbed, so surely that's what saved him. And instead, it's this wad of cash that he had from somewhere. We don't see where he picks the cash up. And I'm like,
yeah.
All right, so folks, I forget the exact phrase of it, but a narrative thread or like a payoff for the, let's just call it this audience payoff, a narrative payoff, is if you continue to show it throughout the film, you expect that to be the thing that's used later, or like, so again, they showed it multiple times. So when the stab happens in the chest, you as an audience member put the things together of course, the unicorn is what saved him. And then you could have a scene later where he's lamenting that this thing has been destroyed, but it saved his life, like whatever. But to then switch that out, it's like, it's not a subversion because you clearly you either had a continuity error or you thought it was funny. I was like, but you can't do that. Or the reasons you have to be careful doing that is it builds the audience to a point and it's this letdown. And if you don't say anything about it, because they never do, who cares? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And that's actually I think a running theme throughout that entire film. Like at least with BVS, you get a payout of Batman versus Superman, or I'm sorry, Batman v Superman.
Batman vs Superman is
But
a different thing. I got reminded of that production, and I don't want to talk about that later. But go ahead.
but yeah, like that unicorn, I would have been happy if he pulled out the unicorn and the money was in the unicorn, and that's why he was so obsessed with the unicorn.
Yes,
but yes, like you were saying,
made sense.
Chekhov's gun. If you show a gun in the first act, it has to go off by the end of the second act. That's literary 101. Is that if you keep showing something, there's got to be something to come with it, and I think that's the entire film. There's no payout. There's only one payout, which also just comes out of nowhere, is Diablo.
All of a sudden, like when he turns,
and all of a sudden he's this Aztec god of fire.
Where was that established? How can he do that?
Yeah.
Like if okay, letting him use his powers before that point is where that falls apart. Because going back to your gun analogy, there should have been a bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
Like you either need to take that out or you need to make a bigger deal when he uses it. Like if he hints that that's still not the worst of it. Like if he does that. So actually, let's play Chekhov's gun with the Hulk and Avengers. So in the first part, or roughly first act, get into the second act. We know even if we know pop culture with Banner, but let's say if you don't, just say if you have no knowledge of who the Hulk is, you know, of him and Natasha, she has this whole crew set up, kind of lies that she doesn't have a crew, and he's like, he like gets angry to kind of test her and check, like, oh, okay, is there really something going on? He's like, hey, it's okay, I can control this, but I need you to calm down, and I'm gonna be all right. And then she ends up revealing that, you know, there's a force there to take him out. So, you know, even if you haven't seen the Hulk before, wait, why do you need that many folks for someone that looks like a really humble scientist? Jump to Act 2.
Yeah.
Loki is intentionally, like, we know now, we start to figure out, like, oh, that's your plan. You want to get him to set off on here, and he's make those subtle jabs in his monologue to get at him. And then obviously we see the Hulk burst out. So we see the danger of what the Hulk can be when he goes off. And finally in go ahead.
Well, not only with Loki, but throughout the entire first act also, is once he gets on board the ship, RDJ is the one who's trying to like
RDJ's
poke
poking
him and keeps hinting at what he can be.
He's like, hey, me in a submarine? He's like, oh, and then it takes off, and he's like, oh, this is worse. This is so much worse. Yes. But Act 3 then chooses to use that in the and it kind of harkens back to the first act of like, no, I'm always angry, which is something that he was aware of in the Act 1 when he's talking with Natasha. But now I'm going to use this to save my new family, right? Which again, like your brain clicks and you're like, okay, got it, understood. This could have been the same thing for Diablo. It just messes up in Act 2, because in Act 1 it is pretty well established that like you have his India scene with the video, and we've seen him do it over and over again, like his ended up burning his family and so on and so forth. Okay, got it. Act 2, he uses the powers, kind of sort of like the Hulk, but there's not enough. Like, you need to move the conversation he has in the bar with him and his family. You need to move that to Act 2. If you move that to Act 2, and we have the oh, that's why. So you put those two together of like, I used it to help stop his troops, but here's the reason I'm actually hesitant. That's when you need to reveal that. So that in Act 3, when he says, I'm doing this for my family, it's like, despite everything that's going on, you understand why you need to do this in this moment. Boom. Would be perfect. And it doesn't
They tried, I think. Especially when Carlos starts showing everybody their secret fantasies. And, he has his family there, and then he sees that and that's actually, but that line though still kind of bothers me, because like these people, just met each other like 12 hours before.
Yeah.
And they were all ready to kill each other for $1, and then all of a sudden they're a family.
So if they could, if they could nail that aspect, and if the movie hadn't wasted its time with the introductions, and so in BVS I said that the Justice League setups that are the obvious Justice League setups weren't necessarily that bad as far as kind of like, hey, there's metahumans that are popping up, and they showed the little video of Wonder Woman seeing the video and stuff like that. Okay. But you can't do that in a movie when we actually need to know who these people are to move forward. Like Amanda Waller doing that to a degree, like if you could pull out the videos and just have her having that conversation at the table to like get that time back, and let's show let's go back to the prison, start at the prison, have your I hate to say Guardians of the Galaxy moment, because now it's like James Gunn taking over the Suicide Squad, but honestly you need that lead up to why they will start to work together, because even though they work together there at the prison, it's still a rocky relationship, right? And that's what we need to see. We need to see them bickering in the anytime they have courtyard opportunities. Like we need them to be doing that, so that when Waller's like, this team's got to go active, right? And maybe you have some mission in the beginning that just goes horribly wrong. Just like it's the first time they try to do it, and they're like, "Wow, this is not going to work." And you can move the Harley scene where she calls everything out, right? And then that maybe that mission starts to show the flaws that she pointed out, which again helps show her value as one of the as the mentalist in the group, and or like being able to know how to push buttons to get people to do the right thing later. I think she, instead of Will Smith trying to push El Diablo, like she needs to be the one that does that, like, or she convinces Deadshot as the leader to push them to do that, or Flag, whoever you want to put in that role. But she's like,
I was okay with that dynamic, because while she is the button pusher, she was also the mental healer throughout that entire thing. She was getting people riled up to find out what was ailing them, and then eventually fixed it. But she was letting Deadshot be bad cop, or the punishing daddy, or something along those lines.
I would be fine with that. I think you need to move where it happens at, like toward the end of Act 1, very start of Act 2, and if you keep Deadshot or Flag as the ones that finally have that interaction or breakthrough with them, or she's the one that has a breakthrough with them, so on and so forth. But that would just give us time to know who these people are. I'm going to go back to Slipknot for a second. I knew he was going to die when he came in and had a sense of backstory. And you're like, and if someone might be say like, well, but Katana had the same thing. Like, Katana at least she got a flashback. I'm like,
yeah, she got a cut too. He did not get a cut too. He is
going to die. I have barely heard your name in this movie. I don't even know who the actor is playing you. You're so screwed. Oh gosh. It
was just. Oh yeah. By the way, this is Slipknot. He's joining us too.
Climb anything.
He's and see that red shirt he's got underneath there.
Oh gosh, that.
Pay you no mind to that.
What? Hashtag Red Shirt Rejects, our Star Trek podcast, which you should definitely go check out. And it'll be kicking back up when Star Trek Discovery comes on. Yeah.
Nice plug. So, do you mind if can I talk about how much I hate Flag and Dr. June and their relationship, and how much I did not care?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Just there was nothing there for me, and like there's no establishment. There's just like, Waller's just like, yep, they're banging, and he loves her, and she loves him, and he makes her do stuff that she doesn't want to, and I'm like, this is almost as bad as Joker and Harley's relationship in some ways.
Actually,
I mean, at least Harley had a choice to become the monster that she is, whereas and he's just like, "Baby, do it," like it's his birthday or something.
We're gonna the toxicity for the Joker Harley relationship. It's a whole other podcast. We'll touch on it a little bit, but we would be here all day on how bad that is. Flag and June, and suffers from the same problems of these short introductions. That's like just. I wish this movie starts Act 1 with the crew most of the crew already assembled in the prison. I'm going to keep harping this because what it does is that it saves you time, and you can just start showing us how these people are interacting together, put in moments of their history, reveal that. Waller can still have the conversation at the table, but just take out the flashbacks from that. Let her just talk that out with the guy sitting there and just get that done over with. Move June and Flag into the prison in some way of like not as prisoners, but maybe operations run there so that you're saving time because you're just going to run your operations from that spot. And then you get to see how that developed over time. And let's add in another thing, like Enchantress as the enemy right now just doesn't make like I don't understand the power set, and I'm not talking about like I don't understand it from the comic sense. Like I don't understand Okay. Long story short, magic in movies is not bad, but magic in movies needs rules because otherwise, magic in movies is literally just, ooh, I did a thing. I'm like, okay, but why could you do that thing?
Yes.
I need some. You got to ground it a little bit of like, I use a wand. I have to say commands from said wand. And if my mouth gets shut, then naturally I'm at a disadvantage. Or if I can't cast without the wand and someone knocks it out of my hand, I'm disarmed. So I need, when people do those things in Harry Potter, as much as people pick fun at the simplicity of like, oh, no, I want two wands to shoot at each other. But it is visually a thing that you could understand, and it's a very, very succinct, however they're doing it, there's energy coming from both those. All right, cool, got it. As a moviegoer, you can pick that up quickly, so on and so forth. When they say, like, we can, you revived your brother. How did you do that? She's stabbing at your heart. Why does that hurt? But now your brother's revived you, but the heart doesn't, like...
Fixing it. Yeah, it basically, it took away her one weakness right away. And just like... And I was just thinking, there was somebody who had rules of magicians, or Merlin had like levels of magic or something like that, of people who needed to like channel their magic through a thing like a wand or a staff, and then other people who could just incant magic, and then other people who could just think magic or something along those lines. And this is just all over the place in that. And that whole brother-sister dynamic happens so fast. Like, she sneaks out. She cracks open her brother and then takes over some rando dude. We don't know why. She shows this guy. Could have been anyone. I think
it is just
anyone. Who knows? But why was it some dude in a business suit?
I think it's just the first person she came in contact with.
And then all of a sudden, she resurrects him, and then she's like, oh, my heart is being stabbed by somebody. And he's like, I'll fix that, and then does a Temple of Doom on her. I just, that whole thing. And I mean, I appreciate Kara becoming she's starting to be like a Zoe Saldana of like sci-fi and comic stuff, but I don't know. Either she needs to pick better roles, or
whatever
better roles.
And hopefully not that weird CGI gyrating thing that.
Yeah, I'm gonna kill you guys.
I'll give you your heart's desires
with my shimmy.
Oh, okay. So, we talked about it a little bit. We were talking about the reason we went back to BVS and brought that up was character motivations. There is no reason any of them shouldn't have taken the Enchantress's deal. There's no reason any of them should have got out of the bar to fight for Flag. There's no reason that Deadshot shouldn't have shot half of them while they're like. There's no like. they keep trying to put the like honorable tag on them, and the movie just expects us to be like okay with that, with the decisions that they make, without really giving us any substance on like why have they changed, right? It's like I think it's very clear like who some of them are, especially Deadshot and Harley at the beginning of the film, but there really isn't anything that like compels us to understand like why would you come back, especially in Harley's case when the Joker disarms the explosive in her neck, and they don't come back to that fact at all in the movie. Because if you don't know what I'm talking about, folks, the Joker tries to save her midway through the movie. Helicopter crashes, so on and so forth. The only reason she's able to go is because she gets released. They can't do anything about it. So why in God's earth do you go back to the Suicide Group or go back to the Suicide Squad? You were free. I get that Mr. J just died. We're gonna get to our Joker thing in a moment, but that just doesn't track. The movie's saying things happen. They haven't shown us why things happen. It's like, stop that. If you're a screenwriter, just like stop that. You need to write why in the margins. Like, why is she doing this? And if you don't have a good answer, which you don't in this movie, stop it. Quit it.
Oh, we're going to roll up your script and hit you with it on the nose.
Gosh, now I'm getting mad. Sorry that.
There's. I think the big question throughout this entire film was, why do I care? And I could never answer that. There was I didn't care about Flag. I didn't care about Enchantress or Moon. I didn't care about saving Moon. The only people that I had even just a hint of care for were Deadshot, Harley, and Killer Croc.
Yeah. Gosh.
Also, I did enjoy the moment when he's showing up Navy SEALs.
Y'all just visitors. I live in the sewers. Something like that.
Yeah, and he was weirdly Cajun.
Yeah. I was like, was that Common? The Common plays a gangster early on in the Joker scene.
No, yeah.
I forgot Common was even in this movie. I was like, what?
Yep. And interestingly enough, Common plays like one of the worst people in that film. It's the guy who's just like, hey, Joker, respect. Can I bang your girl?
That's so weird. That seems...
Which is so, like, kudos to you, Common, for going way out of character.
If Common's going to show up in a DC movie, I want him as Green Lantern or John Henry Irons. Like, I want Steel. Like, don't do this to me.
I could so see him as Jon Stewart.
I mean, that was the rumor mill for a long time, and we still haven't, like, come on, people, come on, this is not hard.
Yeah, they need to bring Jon Stewart in, and they need. There's a part of me that wants a Guy Gardner, but just for like a hot minute, where they're just like this guy's an asshole. He's going to Oa.
We're gonna get someone else in. All right. So what were you gonna say?
I wanted to talk about the worst Joker possibly ever made.
All right, hit me.
So there are a couple things that are going on with my dislike for Jared Leto's Joker. One, his execution. There's no room for mirth in his Joker. It's all menace, which I don't think jives with Joker. Like, I think one of the driving forces behind Joker is that life is a pointless joke, and so why not create a bit of chaos? Whereas in this, Joker just seems hateful of everything. The other thing, breaking the fourth wall, is Jared Leto's methodology in how he became the Joker was
his castmates did not like him. He was sending like dead animals and stuff into their trailers and on set. Like, it was
And yeah, I think it was just when I hear about like scrawny white dudes doing this type of crap, it's always like, oh, they get to just be themselves for a while and pretend that it's because they're method acting. And no, it's not. They're not method acting. They're just exercising their basest desires and not learning how to frickin' act instead.
So, of the deleted scenes of the Joker that are available from the DVD and online, have you been able to watch any of those?
No, I have.
Great.
Listen,
I probably getting for the extended cut was enough. Like, I understand.
Yeah, like after I saw that movie, there was nothing in me that said maybe I should see more.
To his credit, I don't know what, and this is the only reason I asked the question, was it that bad? I do agree with what we saw, theatrical, even extended. This Joker's pretty bad. And we can get a lot of the opinions based on interactions with Harley. It's like that relationship is toxic already, and it probably doesn't help that I've been watching the new Harley Quinn series on DC Universe, which is just like a much better, like the Harley Quinn Poison Ivy stories are always, I love those to death. Like, so I love those as a team up. I prefer watching that anytime compared to her and the Joker. Unless it's the animated series, which is like, you can tell there's toxicity there, but it's not the overriding narrative there, especially for a kid's show. They're like, we know this is bad, but we're gonna highlight the. Well, I know I'm saying it like that. I was like, but we're gonna use that as a transition into the Poison Ivy stories. But like that whole Tank and like her hunting him down and whatever that weird ass motto or quote he had her recite back, like that all reeked. That was disgusting.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't feel like it did a good job pointing out the toxicity of it in the film. Like people had to point. I remember a lot of people were upset and wanted to make sure to put disclaimers as they were talking about the movie of like, we really need to make sure kids that are watching this understand why this is bad and why this is terrible. So his Joker.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's the David Koresh of Jokers. He's a cult leader Joker, more so than any other.
So yeah, but
you were saying
worst Joker I'd agree with, because we have now even adding in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, like it was easy for him to leapfrog this Joker. So many animated ones that are above this Joker. Gosh.
Yes. Like right now my Joker ranking is still Mark Hamill. Then I forgot the poor Heath, thank you, Heath. And then it's a tie between Jack Nicholson and Cesar Romano. But I mean, I do have to disclose that I'm just done with Joker as a character concept. And Joker the movie was the final nail in that coffin. I don't need to see another quote unquote downtrodden white guy who's just not understood be terrible to the world and then no consequences. It's
so I don't want to get derailed to like talking Joker because I've had sure. And this is like I think it is a conversation we should have. So like I'm gonna say this really quick because I don't want to like be on there long. My thoughts have changed on it a little bit, not drastically of like go watch this movie. It's like that's not necessarily what I'm saying, because I don't think it's as toxic as people originally made it out to be, and I was definitely put myself in that camp of this is completely awful. I do, but I think there's a messaging mismatch that happens in the Joker movie, and had they been more clear, it would have led to better conversations out of that movie. So I haven't gone back and rewatched it. I think there was like, oh, I see. Dang it, I see what you were trying to go for there, but you didn't nail it. And on top of the Joker wasn't really needed for that movie. because if we keep making comparisons to Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, like those movies, in my opinion, did a better job on the ideas that Joker borrows. So I would just like take Joker out of it, get the Bruce Wayne stuff out, and just focus on this guy. Like just focus on him, and then obviously like the background things that's happening with the garbage strike and stuff like that. So again, don't want to get into it too much, but there's a better story there's a really good story in there. Again, if you don't want to, I get that the the old story of a white guy being quote unquote mistreated and then going on a rampage, that's an old thing, get it. But if they were going to tell that story again, it's in there. They just, gosh, you did not execute that idea as well as you could have.
Yep. I mean, yeah, hint about the Joker movie. The real villain is Republican austerity laws and concepts.
So I think the last thing I want to say for Justice League, we talked about the two...
Suicide Squad.
That's how little I can remember for Suicide Squad. We talked about the two different versions. Talked about the trailers being so good that they asked the trailer company to remix the movie. So with the characterizations that happen, there's a ton of music that happens in the first 20 minutes of the movie. Like they're just like running through. They're just like, we're going to play all the hits. We're going to play all the hits. And basically everyone has their own little theme song as their character intros happen. And it's just, dang, I hate to make another Guardians comparison, but it did feel like they were trying to soundtrack this movie super hard. And it does not work. It is not worth it. They're like, oh, what, David? We want you to do Guardians of the Galaxy, but with these DC criminals. Well, to be fair, that wasn't David.
And make it.
That was the trailer edit. That was definitely studio intervention to how many happened in that time frame.
But I think that's, I mean, when going into greenlighting this film, I'll have to double check, but I think that they were, at some point they were looking at Guardians of the Galaxy and saying this movie should be that.
I definitely. So if I think both of them would be guilty of that. So David Ayer and the studio definitely be guilty for thinking of it in that way. Yeah, totally agree.
It's I think that the real failing of this in trying to create that comparison is the ham-fisted exposition about everyone's backstories through that terrible guard. Still can't get over how horrible Griggs was. Like, that character did not need to exist. The guy, as an actor, is fine. He should do good work. He does do good work, but...
Yeah. Well, you know who... I forgot about this. You know Tom Hardy was going to be in this movie? His clone, and no, I'm not talking about Logan Marshall Green, but Jai Courtney ended up being Captain Boomerang.
Oh yeah, I thought Hardy was going to be Flag.
Is that what it was? I could be wrong.
It makes sense. Both of them make sense. So Jai Courtney is a kind of an interesting cat, and I'm always happy to see him in work. Ever since I liked him in Spartacus. On Stars.
That's actually he's pretty good there. I think he's just taking some bad. He
was in that Terminator terrible thing. Which, I mean, I went and saw it because it's got my girlfriend in it.
Oh wait, Terminator Genesis. It's Genesis.
Yes,
I refuse to call it correctly.
Yeah, he was in that, and then Divergent.
Get out.
You know what? We're going to do a segment on the Divergent films just for that.
Didn't they switch to a TV movie and the movie never came out? They got.
Yeah, there was supposed to be one more, and it never happened.
Yeah. Oh gosh, we should do a young adult movie template. Just be like, here's all the checkboxes you got to hit when you make a young YA movie film adaptation.
"Quote unquote" generically attractive young woman between the ages of 15 and 18. Check.
Gosh. All right. Folks, I think that's all we've got for Suicide Squad. My rating for this, I on principle, because I stuck to my guns and gave Batman v Superman a higher. I gave it a 5. I gave it a 5 out of 10 for the director's cut. That's what I finally decided on. Wrote the script for that. I haven't shot the review for it yet, but that's what I decided on. But even though I gave original BVS a 3, I'm gonna stick with that for Suicide Squad. I think that's right where it's at, because I think I think this version, regardless of extended or theatrical, is just as bad as BVS theatrical release. I think they're just as convoluted and or hard to understand. And just generally, I just don't enjoy going back to rewatch those versions.
No, I don't. I had a hard time sitting through either concept. So I would actually have to eat my words from last week and give this a 2. But because this has a special place in my heart that is not related to the film, its execution, or anything else, I'm going to give it 1 extra point, and it's going to tie with BVS and give a 3 out of 5, or a 3 out of 10, or 3 out of 5. 3 out of 10.
Very nice.
Yes.
All right.
It's if you've got absolutely nothing else to do with your day, maybe go see Suicide Squad.
Have a liberal application of drinks, beforehand.
Yes. Maybe I could think of here's one. Anytime you pointlessly see Margot Robbie's ass, take a shot. That'll get you properly lubricated for this entire film.
That's the spot. But there's some, next week we're doing Wonder Woman, so there's some better things to watch this week. That is a palate cleanser. Super excited to tackle that one more, and it'd be great to be doing that in time before 1984 comes out. So really excited for that. What else am I watching this weekend? I got a review coming up for Army of Darkness. So I had a friend, one of our old Nerd Union writers, Oliver White, old Ollie. He reached out to me and I was like, "Hey, I love Army of Darkness, and I've got some time. Like, do you want to rewatch this with me and let's pump a review out?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, let's do that." So I'll be watching Army of Darkness and hopefully get that review out. We're going to be doing an article and video review, and hopefully have that out next weekend? Question mark? Well, we'll see.
Nice.
We'll see. But I'm going to be watching that this weekend. Still doing Battlestar rewatch, and really Penny Dreadful's picking up because it's 10 episodes and we're on episode 4. So I'm like, now it's really starting to ramp up. I'm like, okay, I'm in. I think I said last week, like episode 2 really got me into it. This past one, you're never going to look at the Popeye the Sailor theme in the same way. And I'm not, that's all I'm going to say. So if you're watching with me, been checking out the reviews, you know what I'm talking about, and or go watch episode 3. You know exactly what I'm talking about. It's nuts.
I cannot wait until the season is done because I want to binge watch it. For me, I'm I'm in the middle of season 4 of The Last Ship, which has officially jumped the shark.
Did they do it on a boat?
But good news.
Did they do it on a boat?
What? Yes. Good news is Peter Weller is now making a guest appearance. So, yeah. I'm kind of excited about that.
Dead or Alive.
And realizing now that Tex's daughter is Jade Chenoweth, and if you are a dancer like Kenneth and I, yes, believe it or not, I am a dancer. Jade Chenoweth is actually prominently displayed as a demo dancer for Kyle Hagami and a few others. So, like, if you've seen, there's a series of montage videos where different groups do the same routine differently. She's often showed in those. So that's kind of an interesting thing. The other thing I was thinking about starting, because they're doing a table read, and I was showing Bria this, telling her a little bit about it, is Orphan Black.
Yeah.
I may spin that up again.
It's a good series. I need to.
Yes, it is.
I don't know if I ever finished it though. It's bad on me.
Oh, we're gonna start after we finish the saddest season of The Travelers.
Someone threw out as an idea of the shows that either didn't get to finish. So I'm doing some video essays. Gonna start pumping those out. So y'all should definitely go be checking that out on our YouTube page when it comes out. And our Patreon gets started. They're probably gonna get first access to those. So wink, 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 wink. But I would love to do a shows that ended too soon, and not necessarily just cliffhangers, but it could be a combination of this season didn't feel as good because they didn't know for sure if they were going to come back, and then ultimately that it just kind of left in cliffhanger and or kind of and it gets left in this weird spot. I would probably put Dollhouse in a similar spot of it's sad it only got 2 seasons.
Oh yeah,
definitely would like to see that go a little bit longer. Yeah. Travelers. Oh gosh, you're gonna make me sad. Such a good show, so good.
Yes.
Tom got me onto that, and I remember 2 or 3 episodes in, I'm just throwing the hands up oh, I know what the writers they've fallen over each other. The writers they're like, oh, we're just this is all good. Don't you like this moral quandary? This moral quandary? You like this issue? You like that problem? You like this new wrinkle on it? That's what happened.
Actually, Travelers is a great example of how to handle dark and gritty without necessarily being so dark and gritty. Mm-hmm. Dirty, tough concepts.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're finishing up that one. I really do think we're in this golden age of television right now. Where people are taking some risks with writing. Television is doing better than film, in my opinion.
That's one of the video essays I want to talk about too. I just flat out said it. I was like, when TV overtook films, that is the title. And I know people are I know this is a movie podcast, but part of the reason I'm okay talking TV is that the mediums. Gosh, I remember back in the 90s. And things I read back about in the 90s about how much backlash there was of you can't go to TV. That's it's like a death sentence. If you jump over to go to TV, you're dead. You're not coming back over. And now that is so not the case. Dang it, we were just talking about the whole Mark Ruffalo jumping over to go do the HBO series where he's playing himself, playing his brother, to rave reviews, but a couple years ago, you would have never seen that. Hugh Jackman,
nope.
Allison Janney for Bad Detective, another HBO movie, but being able to do that and still be respected to be able to bounce back and forth and stuff, no way. No way.
I mean, I'll bring up somebody who's not doing any work for obvious non-acting reasons, but Kevin Spacey, with House of Cards. If things didn't happen, he probably would have gone right back. Rami Malek was doing TV, and then they pinged him for Bohemian Rhapsody,
new Bond villain.
And so TV has definitely overtaken, and it's because they treat TV now, many TV shows, like movies. It's not episodic anymore; it's arc. Yeah, Battlestar is one of the things that kind of, well, Babylon 5 was one of the ones that started that, but Battlestar kind of carried that through.
Folks, yeah, I had a lot of fun this episode. Not that we don't always have fun, but this one, I like it when it just rolls off super easy, even for a movie that we just completely did not enjoy. Folks, next week, again, definitely watch Wonder Woman this weekend. We'll be tackling that next week and whatever news happens between now and then. And until then, we'll see you next week.